Tacky is still tacky, my mother texted me at 8:07 a.m. on the morning I got married at the county courthouse. My name is Erin Newman. I'm 29, practical by necessity, and as of last Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, married to Jaden, who's 31 and steady in all the ways I am tired of faking. We signed our papers in a quiet office with a plastic fern, then ate diner pancakes with too much syrup and a coffee ring on our marriage certificate envelope, because life is like that. I went home afterward to the basement room I've rented since Dad died in 2022. It's in a 3-bedroom townhouse on the east side of our city. My mom, Ria, is 53 and the named tenant. Mr. Nichols, 66, owns the place. I pay Mom $600 on the first for the basement room and handed over an $850 deposit when I moved in. We made it official on paper, a month-to-month agreement we both signed at her kitchen table the week after the funeral. The lease says 30 days written notice to end, from either side. It also says, in a sentence I underlined twice, that with proper notice and a clean walkthrough, my deposit can be applied to my final month's rent. Utilities for the basement, Wi-Fi and the old space heater when it's cold, are in my name. If something small breaks, I fix it or hire out and keep the receipts. It kept the peace. Ria likes things that look good, more than things that hold up. She dates a man named Dominic, 50, who smells like good cologne and uses words like optics. My sister Ivy is 24 and floats through plans like they're soft chairs. She sleeps upstairs in the smallest room and has a habit of announcing decisions as if they've already happened. 2 days after the wedding, Friday the 4th, I was in the basement with a laundry basket when Mom knocked and didn't wait for me to answer. "By Friday," she said, still standing in the doorway like a magazine photo. "Ivy needs the basement by Friday. It makes more sense." "Today is Friday," I said. "Then by tonight," she said, as if she'd misread a menu and the kitchen could just remake the dish. "She needs the space. The light is better for her online stuff. Dominic says it's ridiculous you're married and still in my basement." Dominic was in the kitchen upstairs when I went to pour coffee. He gave me a friendly stranger smile. "No hard feelings," he said, tapping his watch. "It's a timing thing," Jaden texted. "Want me to come by?" He was at his tiny 1-bedroom across town, the one with a couch that folds out if you negotiate with it. I wrote back, "Not yet." Something in me stopped apologizing right then. Not rage, just a quiet click. I went to the file box under my bed, pulled out the manila folder with basement written in Sharpie, and laid our lease flat on the bedspread. I circled the 30-day clause and the deposit sentence with a red pen that bled a little through the paper. I slid the copy into a clear sleeve because I know how conversations go in this family. They evaporate unless they're inked, for the sake of keeping facts straight. I moved into the basement in July 2022 after Dad died, because the mortgage had become rent and someone had to make sure the sump pump ran when it rained. Mr. Nichols took over when the bank sold the place. Mom signed a standard rental with him. He knows I'm here. My lease is with Mom, separate. I pay $600 a month on time. I have bank transfers to prove it. I paid an $850 deposit up front. Mom wrote received and the date next to her signature. Wi-Fi and small repairs are mine to handle. Last winter I bought a washer part out of pocket when it flooded. I stapled the $219 receipt to the back of my copy of the lease because old habits save arguments. Ivy texted me a photo of a room she'd rearranged on Pinterest captioned, "Basement vibe." She added a heart. She has no malice, just momentum. That afternoon, Mom leaned in my doorway again. "This doesn't have to be dramatic, Erin. Be flexible for once." 30 days isn't drama, I said, and handed her a printed copy of the lease we both signed. I pointed to the sentence and let my finger sit there until she looked at it. I'll give you my move-out date, Sunday. Put it in writing, too. She rolled her eyes like I'd suggested a notarized handshake. If you want to be petty, she said, don't expect a deposit back. I didn't answer. I'm not a yeller. I'm a stapler. I spent Saturday evening at Jaden's measuring his living room wall where a shelf could go. He listened more than he talked and didn't offer to call my mother, which is exactly why I married him. Do what you need, he said, and handed me his last manila folder. Sunday dinner is a standing thing at Mom's. Sometimes Aunt Caroline, 55, comes and brings a pie from the discount rack and a reality check. Ivy brings her phone. Dominic brings a bottle of something you can't pronounce. I slid the manila folder into my tote for Sunday dinner and zipped it shut like a seatbelt. Sunday dinner smelled like roasted chicken and store-bought rolls. I put the manila folder down between the mashed potatoes and Ivy's phone face down on TikTok. Everyone stopped chewing the way people do when a glass tips at a crowded table. Before we eat, I said, keeping my voice even, I need to go over timing. Rhea smiled at Dominic like we were on a talk show. Is this really necessary? It is, I said, and slid the folder open. I pulled out 3 things. A copy of the month-to-month lease Mom and I signed in July 2022, a county tenant rights printout about notice and self-help evictions, and the $219 washer part receipt I'd stapled months ago. Aunt Caroline had come with a pie that still had a clearance sticker on it. She leaned forward, elbows on the table, interested. Dominic swirled his wine like an audience member. Ivy kept one finger on her phone screen to stop the video auto-scroll. Per this lease, I said, tapping the line we both initialed, either party gives 30 days written notice to end. This, I held up a single sheet I'd typed that afternoon, is my written notice dated today, October 6th. My move-out date is November 6th. I read the notice out loud. There's a seriousness to reading something with your own name on it that makes people listen. Ivy blinked. But we need it by Friday, she said, as if I was refusing to pass the salt. I already told people I'm setting up down there. The light is better. I'll be out by the lease, I said. November 6th. Mum's smile went plastic, the kind that covers anger with a gloss. You really brought paperwork to dinner, she said. This is family, Erin. We don't need to make it formal. The last time we didn't make it formal, I ended up fixing a flood and arguing about whether it happened, I said, and slid the washer receipt toward her. This is the part we replaced. I'm asking that to be reimbursed or deducted from the deposit per what we wrote. Dominic cleared his throat. From an optics standpoint, this is stiff. You're married now. Isn't there a way to be flexible? I am, I said. I'm doing exactly what the lease says and giving more than a week. I've got a lot to pack, and Jaden's place is small. I'm not dumping my stuff on his living room floor tonight because someone else decided how my week goes. Aunt Caroline reached for the tenant rights page and scanned it like a menu. 30 days is standard, she said, and this says no tossing possessions on lawns, no lockouts. She slid it back, tapped the paper with a fingernail. Good, keeps yelling down. I pushed the lease copy toward Mom. Honey, also, this line, I said, pointing, says the deposit can be applied to the final month with proper notice and a clean walkthrough. So, on November 1st, I won't be paying rent. The $850 deposit will cover it. After the walkthrough, you'll return the remainder minus any agreed-upon deductions, which is where the $219 comes in if you'd rather balance that way. Mum folded her napkin in half, and then in half again. You think you're very clever. I think I'm following what we agreed, I said. Ivy finally set her phone down. You're making this harder than it needs to be. It got hard when the deadline was by tonight, I said. I'm not arguing about that again. You can't seriously be reading a notice at the table, Mom said. This is tacky. I thought of her text from the wedding morning and put the notice in front of her, signed, with the date. "This is me keeping everyone's expectations clear," I said. "Sunday dinners run on routine. So does housing." Dominic looked at Mom like he wanted a line. She gave him one. "If you move out on the 6th, who's paying for the rest of November?" she asked. "It's month to month," I said. "Notice runs 30 days from today. My obligation ends on the 6th. I'll be out, I'll do a walkthrough with you that morning, and I'll transfer the Wi-Fi and utilities I set up for the basement out of my name that day. I'll send a schedule tonight so no one's surprised." Aunt Caroline nodded once, decisive. "Let her do it her way," she said to Mum. "It's cleaner." Ivy kicked her heel against the chair leg, annoyed. "I already told my followers I was moving down there." "You can tell them you're moving in November," I said. "It's still content." Mum leaned back, crossed her arms. "If you want to be petty, Erin," she said, louder this time, "don't expect a deposit back." I kept my hands flat on the table. "We'll do a walkthrough with a checklist and photos," I said. "You sign off, I hand over keys, we both keep copies. Clean and simple." The rolls sat untouched in the basket between us. Aunt Caroline reached for one and broke it open. "Eat while it's warm," she said. "Paperwork doesn't taste better cold." I slid the notice and the lease back into the folder, left the tenant rights page on the table where Mom could see it, and lifted my glass of water. "To clear timelines," I said, dry as the chicken. No one clinked. On November 1st, I didn't send rent. At 8:12 a.m, I emailed Mom and CC'd Mr. Nichols. Subject line: "Notice, November rent and move-out logistics." The body was short and mathy. Per our signed month-to-month, dated July 2022, my 30-day notice given 10/6/24 sets, move out for 11/6/24. Per paragraph 7, the $850 deposit is applied to the final month with notice. That covers the $600 due for November. Remaining deposit balance, $250. Per our discussion and attached receipt, you also owe $290 for the washer part I purchased after the flood. Total due back to me after a clean walkthrough, $469. I'll be available for a walkthrough at 9 a.m. on 11 to 6. I'll return keys at that time. Utilities, Wi-Fi for the basement will be transferred out of my name later that morning. I attached the lease, the receipt, and my notice again. I reread it twice, took out the 2 extra adjectives I'd thrown in, and hit send. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Ria, family doesn't nickel and dime Erin. I raised you." Me. "This is the agreement we both signed." 9 a.m. on the 6th works? Ria. "You know I'm not made of money, it's the holidays soon." Me. "That's why I gave notice and a schedule. 9 a.m. No answer. I set my phone face down on a pile of flattened liquor store boxes Jaden had leaned against the wall the night before. U-Haul wanted almost $3 a box, he said when he carried them in, his arms full of cardboard that still smelled faintly like Cabernet. He had a pocket knife clipped to his belt and a calm that made everything feel solvable. We sat cross-legged on the concrete and turned the flat shapes into corners and edges, tapes snapping neat. "What's your plan for the week?" he asked. "Pack books and the off-season stuff this weekend, closet Monday, dresser Tuesday. Leave the mattress for Wednesday. Wipe down and vacuum Thursday morning before the walkthrough," I said. I could feel the list settle my lungs. He kissed my knuckles, just a quick press. "Text me if you need a ride. I can take an early lunch Wednesday." Upstairs, I heard Ivy talking to someone on speaker and a dog bark that didn't belong to our house. It was a short, excited yip, followed by claws scrabbling on laminate. She came down a minute later carrying a tote bag and a fluffy golden dog panting hard. "This is Shiloh," she said, like she was presenting a cupcake. "Isn't she perfect? We're just hanging out inside for a bit. It's cold." "We don't allow pets," I said. meaning the lease, and also meaning I didn't have the bandwidth for new variables 5 days before I moved out. "It's fine," Ivy said. "We'll just keep it chill. She likes the basement." "More space!" Shiloh trotted in a circle and wagged her whole backside. She bumped her nose against one of my boxes and sneezed. Ivy laughed like it was adorable and not a preview of carpet cleaning. "Where'd she come from?" I asked. A friend, kind of a foster, kind of a loan. Long story," Ivy said. "Anyway, I'm moving down here next week, just getting her used to it." "Next week is after Wednesday," I said. "Please keep her upstairs until I'm out." Ivy rolled her eyes and clipped Shiloh's leash to a dining chair, like that made it a plan. The dog whined and sat down on my rug. I added lint roll rug to my list. By noon, Mom responded to the email thread. "Rhea, I don't agree to owing you anything. I'm not paying you to leave my house. I won't be bullied." Me, "It's not payment to leave. It's the remainder of my deposit plus the repair reimbursement we discussed. Walk through at 9 on 11/6 as noticed." "Rhea, if you don't pay rent, I will put your things on the lawn. I'm serious." I forwarded the thread to myself and replied, "Still CCing Mr. Nichols." Me, "Per county tenant rights." Attached, "Self-help evictions and removing possessions are illegal. My items will be fully removed by the date on my notice. See attached packing schedule and proposed walk-through checklist." I attached a simple table with checkboxes. It wasn't fancy, it was enough. Jaden peeked over my shoulder and let out a low, "Nice!" Not approval so much as recognition. Late that afternoon I came home from work to find a trail of kibble down the stairs, like someone had tried and failed to teach Shiloh gravity. The dog herself bounded up from my room, tail thumping against the doorframe. Ivy followed with a squeaky toy in her hand. "Seriously?" I said. "She's fine," Ivy said. "She just gets zoomies. We're going to film a little thing down here later." "The light from your window—" "Please don't," I said. I'm packing. Also, you can't have a dog here. It's in Mom's lease with Mr. Nichols." Ivy shrugged like the lease was weather. "Dominic said it's better to ask forgiveness than permission." I took a photo of the kibble trail, the dog, and the time on my phone screen. Then I went upstairs and sent one more email, same thread, calm tone. Me, "For clarity, I'm not responsible for any damage occurring after today in the basement or common areas. Note that Ivy has begun bringing a dog, Shiloh, into the townhouse. Please confirm policy." The reply from Mr. Nichols arrived 3 minutes later, a single line from his iPhone. "Mr. Nichols, no pets allowed, see page 2. I woke up before my alarm on Wednesday, made coffee too strong, and put on a plain tea with deep pockets. I slid the checklist and a clicky pen into one, my keys into the other. The basement looked like a cardboard city, labels in black marker, fragile arrows all pointing up. At 8:55 I texted Mom, "Walk through at 9 as scheduled, meeting you downstairs." She didn't reply, but at 9 on the dot she appeared at the top of the basement stairs in her robe, then disappeared. Then came back dressed, Dominic's voice drifting from the kitchen like background radio. I held the checklist up so she had to look at it. "We'll go line by line," I said. "Walls, floors, fixtures." She sighed dramatically, which I ignored. I'd patched nail holes on Monday, touched up the baseboards with the tiny jar of off-white I'd bought last year, scrubbed the sink and the shower until water beaded. We started with the walls. I read, "Bedroom walls, no damage," and pointed. She glanced, signed the line I'd marked, "No damage," her signature small and tidy like it was trying to hide. "Closet shelf secure, no damage." She signed. "Window locks, functioning, no damage," signed. "Carpet vacuumed, no stains." She hesitated, looked at the corner where Ivy had let Shiloh curl up 2 afternoons ago, then signed anyway. Upstairs I could hear Ivy laughing at something on her phone, a voiceover running over music. "No barking this morning." The house smelled like reheated coffee and a candle pretending to be clean linen. In the bathroom, she ran a finger along the edge of the sink. "There's a scratch." "It's in the porcelain glaze," I said. "It was there when I moved in." I checked my folder, pulled out the move-in photos on my phone, side by side. "Here." We looked. Same scratch. She said nothing and signed, "No damage." By 9:22, we'd initialed next to each line. At the bottom, tenant returns keys. Landlord, agent acknowledges condition as stated. I put keys returned and the date next to my name. She pursed her mouth, then signed her part with a flick. I snapped photos of each page, then the signatures, then a quick last set of the empty room. Lamp glow, vacuum lines, the way the doorknob looked when it wasn't mine anymore. "Here," I said, holding out the keys. There were 3. One for the basement door, one for the back slider, one for the utility closet. I wasn't supposed to know opened. They felt heavier than they should, familiar in my palm. I let them drop into her hand, and the absence felt louder than the clink. "I'll transfer things at 10, I said. "Internet is off as of today. Any mail that still comes for me, text and I'll swing by." She stared at the keys like they were foreign. "You're really doing this," she said, like I'd threatened, and then surprised her by following through. "I told you I would," I said. "It's all in writing." At 9:40 I carried the last 2 boxes up to my car. Kitchen stuff and the box with random cords everyone has. Dominic moved out of the way without making eye contact. Ivy sat on the couch with the TV running a movie and her phone in her hand, not looking down at either. "It has better light," she said quietly, not to me specifically, just into the room. "Make a plan for a rug," I said. "It stays cleaner." At 9:58 I unscrewed the coax from the wall and slid my modem and router into a tote bag. They were mine. I'd bought them. I called the internet provider and told them to end service effective immediately, then cancelled the autopay I'd set up 2 years ago. The router lights blinked a frantic pattern, then went dark. A second later, the movie upstairs froze mid-frame and the little buffering wheel started spinning. "Are you serious?" Ivy yelled. "We're watching that." "I took my service with me," I said up the stairs. "Not a family heirloom." Mom came to the top of the basement steps, arms crossed. "Spiteful," she said. "Accurate," I said. "It's my account." By 10:15 I was in my car. I looked once more at the front door, took a breath like stepping into cold air, and drove across town to Jaden's place. His apartment smelled like cardboard and tomato sauce. He'd already opened a pizza box and left 2 plates on a stack of moving boxes like a makeshift table. "You did it," he said, like it was a marathon and not paperwork. He handed me a cold slice and we ate without talking for a minute, the room quiet in a way basements never are. I put the signed walk-through form on the counter and snapped another set of photos because I am me. Then I plugged in the modem on his kitchen floor and watched the lights steady one by one. He shook his head, impressed in a soft way. My phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. Unknown number, local. I wiped my hands and hit play on speaker. "Ms. Newman," Mr. Nichols' voice said, even and clipped like always, "about a pet on the premises. Give me a call back when you have a moment." Jaden raised an eyebrow. I nodded. "I CC'd him last week on Ivy bringing a dog," I said. He replied, "No pets allowed, page 2. He took another bite. "Sounds like he read it." "I'm keeping my copy of the checklist," I said, more to myself than to him, "and the timestamps." He reached across the box and tapped the manila folder with one finger. "Receipts," he said. "Receipts," I agreed. A week after the keys left my hand, my phone exploded over lunch. Family group chat. 8 unread, then 12. The thumbnail was a photo of a white sheet of paper on our kitchen counter. I opened it. Ria. "This is ridiculous. $730 for carpet. Stairs and enzyme treatment. Because of your drama, Erin. You CC'd him and now he's nitpicking every fibre. The invoice had Mr. Nichols' letterhead and itemised lines. Stair runner replacement, materials, chart, labour, and pet enzyme treatment, hall runner, lower landing. At the bottom, per lease, tenant liable for pet-related damages, due within 15 days. I swallowed a bite of cold pasta and typed, Me. I CC'd him on 11-1 re notice and Ivy bringing a dog. He replied, No pets allowed, see page 2. This isn't new, it's the lease, Ivy. He wouldn't have looked if you hadn't made a big deal. Shiloh didn't do anything. Aunt Caroline, you can't be mad at a smoke alarm 4 beeping. Dominic, this could have been handled in-house. Me, the stairs aren't in-house. They're in Mr. Nichols' house. He's the landlord. Ria sent a close-up of the invoice total, like zooming in made the number shrink. Then, if you hadn't cut the Wi-Fi in the middle of the day, Ivy wouldn't have been stuck here and none of this would have spiraled. Me, I transferred my account on my move-out day. You knew the date. The no-pet policy is not about Wi-Fi. I muted the thread. It kept pinging my lock screen anyway, so I muted it again and stuck my phone face down next to Jaden's mug. He glanced over. Crisis or normal level of drama? Invoice, I said. Stairs and enzyme. 7:30. He nodded like that was about what stairs cost. You okay? I'm going to forward the walkthrough, I said, just so the timeline's clean. I pulled up my email, attached the signed checklist and the photos of the empty room, and sent it to Mr. Nichols with a simple line. For your records, I vacated 11 to 6 as noticed. Attached, signed walkthrough, no damage, and key return. Pet was brought onto the premises by Ivy after my notice. I am not in possession of any keys. Please confirm that my tenancy ended 11/6. His reply came 10 minutes later. Mr. Nichols. Confirmed. Thank you for documentation. Clean. Like everything about him. Mom called instead of texting. I let it ring twice and picked up. Cold, she said, skipping hello. You're cold about this. I sent you notice. We did a walkthrough. You signed no damage next to every line, Mom. That man is charging me $730. It would not be happening if not for you and your paperwork. It's happening because of the lease you signed with him and because a dog was in the house, I said. I kept my voice low. Jaden was washing dishes, pretending to have opinions about sponge brands. I'm following paperwork. You're mad at consequences. She breathed like she was gearing up for round 2. Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't skip weddings and then tell people to move out by tonight, I said. We can keep going, but my answer is the same. The deposit remainder you owe me is $469. You said you wouldn't pay if I was petty. We'll handle it in writing. Silence. Then, you can be very selfish, Erin. I dropped keys in your hand at 9 a.m, like we agreed, I said. I'm done arguing. Email me. I hung up before she could reroute the conversation to my character. Jaden slid a glass of water toward me on the counter like I'd run a mile. I took a sip and opened my notes app to add follow-up 11:20 next to deposit $469. 2 days later, an envelope came to Jaden's with my name in Mom's careful cursive. Inside, a folded scrap of paper with "We'll see" written on it and nothing else. No check. I took a photo, sent it back to the email thread with the subject line, deposit payment, and wrote, per lease and attached walkthrough, please remit $469 by 11/27. Acceptable via check or transfer. No response. Thanksgiving landed like it always does, heavy and predictable. Jaden and I went to the townhouse because Aunt Caroline said, it's a meal, not a mediation, and I was tired of proving points. The house smelled like sage and dish soap. Ivy hovered over the sweet potatoes, filming steam for her story. I didn't see Shiloh and didn't ask. "Happy Thanksgiving," Mom said, in the tone people use when they sign for packages they don't want. Dominic carved the turkey like it insulted him. Aunt Caroline handed me the rolls without commentary, which felt like a blessing. We ate between topics. Every time I reached for something, Mom's eyes slid to my left hand, like the ring was a prop I'd borrowed. When I got up to help with dishes, she blocked the fridge with her body. "I've got leftovers sorted," she said. "We brought containers," I said, holding up the Tupperware I'd packed because my brain likes rehearsals. "We're tight this week," she said, and shut the door with a soft click. Aunt Caroline flicked a glance at me and then at the door and then back to me, her face saying, "Leave it," so I left it. Jaden squeezed my shoulder under the table as we put our coats on. In the car, he buckled his seatbelt and looked at the empty containers in my tote. "Pizza?" he asked. "Pizza," I said. On the way home, the group chat lit up again with a photo of the cleaned stairs, beige and blank, like they'd never had a story. I didn't open it. December started cold and stayed there. Jaden put a whiteboard on the fridge and wrote "Rent, utilities, groceries" in neat columns. We added our names next to amounts and dated them when paid, because we're both the kind of people who sleep better when there's a check mark. On December 3rd, I sent a polite reminder. Subject: deposit remainder. "Hi Mom, per our lease and attached walkthrough, the $469 remainder of my deposit was due 11/27. Please remit by check or transfer. My mailing address is below. Reattaching documents for convenience, Erin." She replied 2 hours later. Ria: "After Christmas, things are tight, be decent. Me: please send by 12/15. I'll accept installments if needed. $200 by 12/15, $269 by 12/31. No answer." I added 2 new lines to my notes: 12/15, 200, and 12/31, 269, with blank boxes next to them. That Sunday, Aunt Caroline texted me a photo of a paper taped to Mom's front door. Orange, bold letters. I zoomed. Notice: lease. Violation: unauthorized pet per paragraph 5. No pets permitted without written consent. Tenant must remove pet within 10 days and pay damages invoiced 11/12, 7/30. Failure to cure may result in termination. Your landlord plays by the book, Aunt Caroline wrote. Tell your sister to put the dog in a sweater and take it to a park, not the stairs. Ivy posted Shiloh in a red knit sweater that afternoon with the caption, "Coziest girl," and a heart. The photo was clearly my old staircase. The comments were all "she's an angel" and "that light," like the notice taped to the door was a prop off screen. I didn't engage. I stacked our books on the shelf Jaden anchored into the wall and handed him the stud finder when he asked for it. We made a small home out of measured decisions: hooks by the door, shoe bin under the console table we rescued from a thrift store, a schedule for the laundry room in his building so we didn't wait for an open machine like gamblers. On the 10th, Mum called to ask if I knew any cheap carpet guys. I gave her the number on the invoice Mr. Nichols had already provided and said nothing else. On the 12th, she sent a screenshot of her bank app with a negative sign in front of numbers and the words "Merry Christmas" to me. I didn't reply. December dulled the edges of things. Without the basement door creaking at midnight or someone leaving the back slider cracked in 20-degree weather, I could hear the hum of our own refrigerator. Jaden and I ate dinner at the table more nights than not. He cooked, I did dishes, we traded jokes about how the couch takes 2 hands and a willing spirit to fold back up. On the 15th, no payment came. I emailed. Me: friendly reminder, $200 installment due today per my 12/3 email. Please advise. Ria: don't friendly reminder me, I said, after Christmas. Me: please send a date you can commit to. I need something in writing. 2 dots, then nothing. I checked the box next to 12/15, $200 with a diagonal slash to mean no. By the 3rd week of December, the orange notice was gone from the door. Ivy posted from a friend's apartment with Shiloh in reindeer antlers. Mum texted me directly. "He's harassing me." I asked if she meant Mr. Nichols. She sent a photo of a second notice, white this time, with past due 7:30 and a line about adding to January rent if unpaid by 12/31. I responded with, "Pay what you can and ask for a plan in writing." She responded with a snowflake emoji and "You're a robot." We stayed home for Christmas Eve and made spaghetti because I didn't want turkey 2 weeks in a row. Mum sent a group text at 9:17 p.m. "Midnight cocoa!" with a photo of mugs and jars of marshmallows. I didn't go, neither did Aunt Caroline, judging by the silence that followed. New Year's Eve, Jaden and I fell asleep at 10:30 and woke up to fireworks far away and someone on our street shouting, "Happy" to nobody. January 1st, I opened my notes app and changed 12/31/269 to 15/269s because hope is a habit. On the 2nd, Aunt Caroline called me instead of texting. "Heard anything?" she asked. "About what?" "Dominic. He ghosted Sunday dinner. Your mother was jittery the whole time. Kept checking her phone like it owed her money." "Not my circus," I said. It came out flat. "Just be ready," she said. "Not for drama, for choices." On the 5th, still nothing. I sent one more email, subject, "Final reminder, deposit remainder. Hi Mom, please send $469 by 110 or propose a written installment plan with dates. If unpaid, I'll pursue small claims." Attaching documents again, Erin I hit send and told Jaden I didn't want to talk about it until the 10th. He nodded and marked small claims in tiny letters on the whiteboard calendar at the bottom where we put maybe things. The cold snapped hard that week. On Wednesday the 8th, my phone lit up at 11:43 p.m. "Mum, I let it go to voicemail because I was asleep. Then woke up fully and listened anyway. He told me to get out," she said, voice high and wet. "He told me to get out of his place. I have my bag and that's it. I'm in my car. I can't go back there tonight with Ivy. She's asleep and there's the landlord and the dog and..." She made a noise that might have been a laugh, might have been a sob. "I'm outside the Safeway on 3rd. Can I call you?" She called again before the message finished. I answered. Jaden sat up slowly and turned on the lamp. "What happened?" I asked. "He said I was using him," she said. The car sounded huge around her words. "He said he doesn't want this, any of this. Erin, I don't have anywhere to go. Can I stay with you just until I get back on my feet?" I looked at Jaden. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. We both looked at the couch like it was a contract. I stayed on the phone while we pulled on hoodies over pyjamas. Jaden grabbed the extra blanket from the closet and shook it out. I could hear the heater cough on. "Come over," I told her, "but listen first." "What?" she said, brittle. "You can stay for 2 weeks," I said. "Starting tonight." "There are terms." Silence, then a disbelieving little laugh. "Terms? 2 weeks, $150 toward utilities, no dog. Chores are posted on the fridge. We set a firm move-out date in writing. No extensions." "She's my dog," she said automatically, like I'd insulted a child. "She's Ivy's dog. And my lease doesn't allow pets," I said. "Do you want the address?" She already knew it. She hung up without saying goodbye and texted, 10 mins. Jaden looked at me, not asking, but leaving space. "I said 2 weeks," I said. 150 utilities, no dog, chores, move-out date in writing. "Okay," he said. He put the kettle on and pulled the couch out with me, the hinges grumbling like old men. He handed me a legal pad and a pen. "Write it down now." I wrote, "Temporary guest agreement, Erin plus Jaden's apartment guest. Rear start 1/9/2025, 12:15 a.m. End 1/23/2025 by 7 p.m. Contribution, $150 toward utilities due on arrival, cash or transfer. Rules, no pets, no exceptions, no smoking, vaping, no overnight guests, quiet hours 10 p.m, 7 a.m. Clean up after self, wash dishes daily, wipe counters, take out trash per schedule, fold couch by 9 a.m, sheets washed Saturdays, bathroom times, mornings 7:30, reserved for work days. Keep personal items contained to suitcase plus 1 tote. No storing items here. Communicate daily schedule in group text. No key provided. Access by buzz-in when someone home. Move out on 1:23 by 7 p.m. No extensions. Violations end. Stay early. Signatures, Ria, Erin, Jaden. Date 1/9/2025. I printed block letters and underlined dates. Jaden read over my shoulder and nodded. Add no posting our address online, he said. I added, no posting our address each location on social media. We taped a simple chore list next to the whiteboard, trash nights, dish rotations, wipe down reminders, because paper keeps arguments from wandering. Headlights swept across the blinds at 12:11 a.m. I buzzed her in. She came up with one bag and a purse, eyes rimmed red and sharp. The cold stuck to her hair. I am freezing, she said, stepping inside like it was a hotel lobby and not our living room. She looked around at our small space, the bookshelf, the plant Jaden keeps alive, out of spite. It's smaller than I thought. It works for us, I said. Tea? She shivered like I'd suggested a lecture. Fine. We handed her a mug and I put the legal pad on the coffee table. These are the terms, I said. 2 weeks, 150 utilities, no dog, chores on the fridge. We'll all sign. She blinked like I'd flicked water at her. Then she laughed, short and barking. I'm your mother. Do you hear yourself? I do, I said. I live here. This is our home. This is what staying looks like at our home. Jaden sat on the arm of the chair, present but not inserting himself. He was the kind of quiet that made everything else clear. He said, If you need to use the shower in the morning, the slot is 7 to 7:30. After that, I'm in there. The laundry room is coin-op. We have quarters. Mum put the mug down and paced the width of the room. 4 steps, turn, 4 steps back. This is humiliating. It's a plan, I said. You asked to stay until you got back on your feet. 2 weeks is a bridge, not a solution. Her face ran through the familiar cycle, shock, amusement that shaded into condescension, anger rising like a tide. $150, she said, tasting it. To sleep on a pull-out in my daughter's living room. To help cover heat, hot water, and the fact that we'll have 3 adults using the space, I said. You've seen my whiteboard. She glared at the board like it had called her a name. You nickel and dime me after I raised you. I'm not charging rent, I said. I'm asking for a contribution. It's the same thing I pay here every month. Clear numbers, 2 weeks, end date in writing. She flopped onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. Dominic said I was using him, she said, voice gone small for a second. Like I was some kind of burden. Jaden stood and adjusted the sheet on the pull-out so the fitted corner caught. We can't speak to Dominic, he said gently. We can only say what we can do here. She sat up and grabbed the pen. Where do you even think I'm going in 2 weeks? She asked, not looking at me. I have ideas, I said. Rooms for rent, close to the bus line. But this paper is step 1. She scanned the lines again. No key, so I have to text you to come in. What if you're not here? Then you wait or make other arrangements for that window, I said. We both work. Our landlord doesn't allow unauthorized occupants. This keeps us in compliance. Her mouth twitched at landlord, the way it always does when authority is mentioned and she's not holding it. She dropped the pen, then picked it up again, then let it roll against the paper like she was testing gravity. "I need to get my things from Dominic's," she said. "I have clothes, shoes, my good lotion." "Tomorrow," I said. "We'll go in the afternoon. Tonight you have what you have. The end date is the 23rd. I tapped the line. "Sign and we all sleep." She stared at the page for a long minute, the clock blinking 12:28 on the stove, the heater humming its steady breath. She put the pen down, not signing. "What's the other option?" she asked. "The other option is I help you find a room," I said. "Tonight I can book you a motel so you're warm and safe. In the morning we look at listings. But I'm not bending on the paper." She looked at the couch like it might apologize. Then she stood up, zipped her coat to her throat, and nodded once. "Book the motel," she said, eyes hot. "I'm not signing that." "Okay," I said. I pulled up a budget place 5 blocks away, paid for one night, and texted her the confirmation and address. She didn't say thank you. She took the tea to go, left the mug on the hall table, and walked out with the legal pad still on the coffee table, blank line under her name. At 9 a.m, I sent her 3 room listings with short descriptions, all month to month, utilities included, under $700, bus lines within 2 blocks, and each ad explicitly said no pets. I wrote, "Given your lease with Mr. Nichols, better to avoid pets entirely." She replied, "Fine." Then, "Which is closest to Caroline?" "The Maple Street house," I texted. "Shared kitchen, female roommates. Landlady named Denise. She'll want first month and a small deposit." "I don't have it," she wrote. "I can loan you $200 and Aunt Caroline can probably spot you some," I said. "But you'll sign a receipt. We'll put a payback date." I called Denise, asked straight questions about rules and move-in timing, and set a viewing for that afternoon. Aunt Caroline met us there with a tote of practical optimism, tape measure, Lysol wipes, a Sharpie. Denise was exactly the kind of woman who posts a list of laundry room etiquette and means it. "No smoking, no pets, quiet after 10, she said, handing over a typed house agreement. "Rent is $650 due on the 1st. Security deposit $300, month to month. I collect via transfer. Shared fridge. Label your shelf." Mum walked the small room in 2 steps and pressed her palm against the window. It faced a maple tree and a bus stop. She looked at me, then at Aunt Caroline. "It's fine," she said. We sat at the small dining table while Denise laid out the paper. Aunt Caroline transferred $200 from her phone without editorial. I sent $200. Mum put $550 down from her own account, jaw tight. Denise wrote a receipt in tidy cursive. Mum signed the agreement and the move-in checklist. Her signature looked steadier than it had in my basement. "Keys," Denise said, and put one on the table between us. It made a small sound. I watched Mom pick it up. Different metal, same weight. On Saturday we went to Dominic's during a window he texted, 10 to 12, I'll be out, and boxed her things. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, the good lotion. Aunt Caroline kept time like a foreman. I snapped photos of each room before and after, because that's what I do. We were in and out in 40 minutes. No yelling, no optics. Back at Maple Street, Mum hung 2 dresses in the closet and sat on the bed like a person who's been holding her breath. "I'll pay you back by the end of the month," she said. Eyes on the receipt I'd written. $200 loan from Erin, due 1/31. $200 from Caroline, due 1/31. "Put it in writing," I said, and slid a pen across the table. She signed and dated. We stuck the copy on the fridge under a magnet that said, "Bless this mess," in curly font. We set a weekly call for Sundays at 6:20 minutes and put it on our calendars. The first one, she tried to stretch it. I set a timer and let it beep at 19. "1 more minute," I said. "See you next week." We stuck to it. The timer kept us honest. On January 13th, I filed small claims for the $469 deposit remainder. The online form was terrible. The $55 fee posted to my card. I printed the case number and put it in the folder. I mailed the packet certified. On the 20th, my phone buzzed. $200 transfer from Mom. Memo deposit. On February 3rd, another $269. Memo remainder. I withdrew the claim and emailed a receipt. No speeches, just math. Misty. Nichols added the $730 to January's rent per his notice. Ivy texted me a screenshot. Paid $250 today, 2 more to go, she wrote, and a sad face. In February, she sent $240 sent, and in March, last $240 is done. Then a separate message. Shiloh stays at Mia's mum's now. I don't bring her inside anywhere. I typed back, good. She sent a photo of the dog at a park. Sky as big as a lesson. Ria paid Aunt Caroline and me back by the 31st, exactly as we wrote. She sent a photo of her whiteboard, rent, chart, utilities, groceries, like the one on mine, and a note, got a temp job at the dental office, filing. It'll do. Our Sunday calls became updates, not audits. In April, Aunt Carolyn and I met Mom at a diner by the bus stop with cracked vinyl booths and a pie carousel no one touched. Mom slid an envelope across the table, $150 in 20s. She looked almost embarrassed. For the couch, she said. I didn't stay. You were right about the paperwork. I put the cash in my tote without a joke. Thanks, I said. The waitress refilled our coffee and asked if we wanted pie. Aunt Caroline said no, but bought a slice to go anyway. Habit. We walked Mom back to her building. She pointed at the maple buds like she'd grown them. It's nice, she said, quiet after 10. She mentioned Denise's chore chart and the bus that shows up when it says it will. Little agreements that held. On Sunday night at 6, the timer beeped at 19 minutes. Love you, she said, hurried, like it had to slide in before the limit. It did. Peace didn't look like hugging in a doorway. It looked like keys changed hands, signed lines filed in a folder, a whiteboard with boxes ticked, and a couch that stayed a couch. We drew the line with paper and then we kept it. The quiet that followed was the point.